What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Ladies Who Bronché, the podcast where we have all of the conversations at the brunch table that everyone's too afraid to have at the dinner table. But at the brunch table, baby, anything goes. And this week, y'all, I am so hyped. You ever fall in love at first sight? This person is someone who I fell in love with immediately after a deep confrontational moment that I had with them, where we were at Kripalu at our artist residency. I was, in my girl feelings and flux and thinking about my relationships and things. And here comes this gorgeous, tall Italiano down the hall with a shirt that says dump him. I was like, no, that can't be my fate. Catalyzed me into this whole torment of me overthinking. Do I need to dump him? No, I didn't need to dump him, but God knew what he was doing, because what needed to happen was that connection with who is one of my favorite Geminis in the entire world. Colin, who the fuck are you?
Julissa, and I'm not just saying this because of that incredible introduction that I was fighting back to tears for. Damn it, Pisces, okay? But I am your motherfucking Gemini husband. That's all I'm going to say. I don't need to add nothing other than that. I'm your motherfucking Gemini husband, and that's it.
Period. Colin is truly, I honestly, I want to give you your flowers. You are funny, charismatic, gorgeous, you're a whole vibe. But beyond that, what is inside, the medicine that Colin carries is so dynamic. And I like to describe it as trickster energy, not because Colin is trying to trick you or deceive in any way, but Colin is somebody who could really stand on the crossroads of letting things be what they are, right? And I think that astrology as a practice is something that does allow for you to look at things for what they are rather than trying
Yes.
to be mystical. You have maps, you are tracking things, and there's rhyme and reason to everything. And so I think that that gives you the power to stand at that point of well, what are you going to do? How are you going to respond? Are you going to let the planets pull you in? That energy that you invite people in with is really powerful, deeply moving, deeply caring human. I think at the surface, people might have one impression, but beyond that, for those of us who have the privilege to really know you, you are a medicine carrier of the finest medicines. And so that's why I love you so much. And I'm so excited to have you here at the table with us today so that we can learn a little bit more about the mind of Colin. So I'd love to hear a little bit about your beginning of astrology and what brought you into the whole.
Yeah. Julissa, I just want to say, all of my chest hair is like this right now because I'm like, my God, my Pisces wife. You already know how much I love you. I mean, I have a Houston t-shirt, which is an inside joke between us. I know. See, and I was like, should I wear that? But I didn't know how the thumbnail was going to be. So I didn't want to half of Queen Whitney's head. I was like, You already know, okay? But thank you. And I remember when we first met, you shared with me the trickster Orisha and explained the myth and the story, and that it was a divinity that both created and collapsed worlds, if I remember correctly. And I just never forgot that, because I'm like, how the fuck does this Pisces, within 15 minutes of meeting my stupid ass, know that all I want to do is talk about trickster archetype? And people always say nobody sees you better than a Pisces. And it wasn't even 24 hours. And you were like, do you know who you remind me of? And I was like, oh, great. It's probably going to be fucking the John Roberts video of the mother with the Christmas tree, or God, which I love John Roberts. I love a New York woman. But I was like, and then when you said that, I'm like, no, she fucking didn't. But anyway, I love you. I appreciate you so much, to the very end, you and I. Okay. So what folded me into astrology? Well, speaking of New York women, my mother. It was just a conversation that was introduced to me really early. I was about 11 or 12 when I started to have a conscious awareness of my mother talking about it, because she read Linda Goodman's sun signs, like most New York women, kind of in the late 60s, early 70s. And she was only 11 or 12 too. She was so young. And she honestly started talking about astrology through talking shit about her husband, my father, who she's still married to, of course, right? But she's like, oh my God, your Leo father, he's such a pain in my ass, that arrogant son of a bitch, right? I'm like, what are you talking about? And then she would just marvel at the fact that she had Gemini twins, because my twin sister and I were born on May 24th, which makes us Geminis, and we're fraternal twins. They are the sign of the twins. So it was just a part of my family's vernacular. And then I took it to another level, I would say, in my early 20s. When you and I probably were shoulder to shoulder at one of the clubs in Hell's Kitchen, the Ritz, Therapy, Industry, fucking somewhere, end of the night at Lucky Burgers at 4:30 in the morning. I don't even know what kind of meat I was eating, but I was eating it.
Right.
Okay? That could be taken so many other different ways, but we're going to
The
focus.
meat in the club or the meat out the club?
Listen, yeah, both. I know, because it's true Gemini fashion. It's both ends, honey. Okay? Woo! So, and this is that trickster shit, you know? It's just like, if we can't laugh, I don't want to do it. And then that really shaped everything for me, was learning astrology with no intention of ever doing it professionally. I think that actually really saved my ass.
Mm.
And yeah, I'll take a beat there, because I'm sure we'll dive into other topics. Go ahead.
We absolutely will dive in a little bit more onto that. I love the context of how you came to be because it's something that really does spew out of you in a way that does feel native to you. That is something that you've been in and not something that you said, oh, okay, I went to school, I tried to study it. It really feels like your second nature in a lot of ways. And I love, you and I share a love for Walter Mercado. And I love that because Walter is responsible for allowing that vernacular to exist in my very Christian household, where otherwise there was no astrology reference. But when Walter was speaking, everybody shut the fuck up and listen.
Why do you think that is? We could do a whole podcast about him, just you and I. But why do you think that is? And I'm going to flip the script very Gemini. And why ought maybe more, say, solamente English speaking astrologers like study his craft?
Walter was born to do that work, which is what makes like the story of the business side of his work so tragic, right? That he was
Yes.
taken advantage of in such a way.
Yes.
But his light was so undeniable, and like when you see
Uh,
somebody so deeply in their purpose who is speaking truth, right? Because whether you believe in astrology or not, everybody who watched Walter and stayed for their sign always heard at least something that resonated, even if they wanted to be in denial about it because they didn't
yeah.
the astrology bitch. Walter spoke to soul. Walter really allowed for an esoteric nature in our culture that was very masked to hold space without it being centered around sexuality and being like, oh,
Yes.
because like technically Walter never came out to anyone. We don't know what we don't know about
To
Walter,
this day. Yeah.
right?
To this day.
So like we can make assumptions, but I think just like the respect of I am an androgynous, like
Right.
with incredible fashion and aura and mystique that no one else could copy and do, like, no one else could be London. And so I think that just demanded a level of respect, like, it was just what naturally like, you just bow down when you're in front of royalty, like, you just shut
Totally.
and listen when you're around
Totally.
the energy of the wonderful Boricua, Waltons. May he rest in
Yes.
peace. Miss him very much.
Oh my God. And I have to say, like, I think that was so beautifully summarized. You couldn't, yeah. And one of my childhood best friends, Frankie Cruz, Puerto Rican, and I saw Walter when I was 10. And I
Mm.
had no idea what he was saying because I grew up not in a Spanish speaking household, but I was just like, whatever they, whatever is doing, I'm in it, right? And I shut the fuck up too. And I could see the zodiac wheel going, I know this, right? And I also just think that in terms of cultures that exude warmth, you'd be hard pressed to find greater warmth in cultures that isn't Latin American, Central American, Spanish speaking. I mean, they rank so high on warmth. And I think he expresses that Latino quality of like warmth and drama, and I think it's called like romantic surrealism or something. It's like a uniquely Puerto Rican version of storytelling. Forgive me if I don't have the exact approach here. But yeah, he could only have been Puerto Rican and captivated the Spanish and Portuguese speaking world and English too. I saw him on Howard Stern and other places, but I could, we talked about him all, todos los días. I could do it all day.
Because
Yes.
honor and respect. And, we walk in the footsteps of giants, and I think that,
Yes.
like, you remind
Yes.
me of Walter, not that you guys have the same aesthetic, but in the way that who you are and your authentic expression through astrology is so yours that I'm like, "Oh, okay," like, I'm tuning in, and I had the privilege at our Love Fest at Kripalu to watch an entire room full of people do that lean in and be captivated just by you talking and being yourself, which is why we do it so special. So, before I make you cry all over the place, bitch, let us move
Too late. Too late. Fucking Pisces. I refuse to be interviewed by water signs anymore. No more. Basta, basta.
Hours. But we're gonna move into our brunch questions to let the
Sure.
girl know a little bit what it's like to go to brunch with Colin. So tell us first, what is your favorite brunch drink and plate? Mhm.
Due cunty. Okay,
Yes.
ma sì, sono in Italia. If I'm in Italy, I can't. No freddo, no freddo niente. So I would have to do like because they get very upset. Colin, it's Americanata. No, needs to be hot. Okay, Americanata significa like American bullshit. Like iced coffee to them is American bullshit.
I love that.
So they call I right. It's so good, Americanata. So I would do probably like capelungo if I was in Italia. Ma, if we're in New York and we're feeling brunchy, I would honestly drag your ass to a Long Island diner, and we're just getting like, yeah, bitch, we're just getting like you, and you know the kind. And there's none in Manhattan. I don't know. Well, there are, but not none that like are walking distance to me, kinda. But like a true Long Island diner, probably owned by a Greek. I'm a Mediterranean. You know how it is.
Those are
And
the
I'm
best.
getting, oh, exactly. No, my Aries moon bestie, who I tell you about all the motherfucking time, she's a native New Yorker, daughter of a chef. The first thing she does when she visits my family on Long Island is gets chocolate chip pancakes at the Holbrook Diner. So that's where we're going, bitch. 100%. Yes.
So what is your favorite order, like food at these?
It's gonna be a pancake, a waffle, like something heavy on the carbs. It's gotta be like molto americanata. I cannot get it outside, probably of like the Northeast especially, but yeah, that's where we're going. Yeah. No, like I wish I could do like an avocado toast, but I'm not, like, I look posh and bougie, but I'm really fucking not. So like I just want my shit to be again straight off the Holbrook Diner menu. I want under $15. I want to get in and I want to get the fuck out. That's it.
Period. Period.
Okay.
I will never forget walking into your room at Halo and seeing, like, the mini case of Monster energy drink.
Oh, Jesus. I know. I know.
He's like, "You know what? Cullen is a true New York City, Long Island boy.
It's true. I own it.
Where is the Axe body spray from back in the day?" Like, it
Not Abercrombie, you know. The fear. See, see, see. I will send you pictures when I thought I was an Abercrombie model, honey.
I love it. So what is your favorite bochinche, AKA like gossip?
Ooh, great question. I would say leadership gone wrong.
Yes.
Yes, which we've spoken about muchas veces because sometimes we saw it, sometimes we didn't. So I would say that, and not from the sense of it's done maliciously. It's just mindless. And either way, I want to know. I'm just so curious about what it takes to, as you know, you're a facilitator, to stand in these positions with the highest level of integrity and competence. And just like when a pilot learns how to fly, that I think they spend more time at the very beginning learning why planes crash. They
Mm.
don't even really learn how to fly until they learn how they crash. And that's kind of probably my favorite bochinche is like, what happened in this retreat? Tell me, tell me, tell me. And then like getting that sense of like, oh, that's where shit went off the motherfucking rails.
That makes so much sense for me, especially again going back to your trickster archetype, right? Because like there's this way in which not that like you don't really give a fuck about anything, but in some ways it's like you don't give a fuck about anything, right? Until you
Niente.
particular context that really grounds you in a truth that you're like, "Oh, okay, this is a moment for seriousness," or this is a moment to lean into one
Yeah.
side or other, but you're otherwise just like digesting in everything that's happening and sitting there like, just like soaking it in way
Right.
that really good because you're like, "Oh, I don't need to be the leader. I just want to understand what's happening."
Right. I just want the 411. I don't want to participate. I just want to know why you're mad at this bitch and why this one doesn't fucking listen for their life and why you made up a whole story in your head and you're getting emotionally found. I love the human drama. I'm just like, look at this grand performance of absurdity. I'm in it.
And so tell us, give us some insight. What was it like going out to eat when you were growing up? What was the culture of eating out?
Okay, wow. Because you didn't tell me about this question. So, like, way to go for no, 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 no problem. I what did he say? Me gusta sorprendida. How do you say surprise?
Sorprendida.
Gracias a Dios. Truthfully, just because we'll be fully transparent, my family couldn't afford it. We never really did. You know, if I went out, I'll tell you what would happen. If I went out, it was with my grandmother, and she would basically insist that we didn't order any beverages except water to keep the bill down. If I dared order the Coke with my Roman Catholic Italian grandmother, it was over for me. Over. So it was like once in a blue moon because she used to work for the church in my town, the parish, although she was very like anti Catholic.
I love it.
I know. She's like OD, like undercover, telling me everything I need to know. My Virgo grandmother, you know, we love Virgos. So it was only then, like, truthfully, just like heartbreakingly, but humbly, I cannot remember a time when my family would go out until I was maybe like 16,
Yeah. Yeah.
truth be told. Yeah.
100%. And like, if it's worth it, we will invest, right? Because we treat
See.
ourselves as deserving. But otherwise, you're not going to catch me just ordering something to be on. Like, no, no.
No, no, that's why, like, I know, I remember because again, we're totally in New York at the peak of like millennial optimism and the brunch picks. Like, I couldn't afford any of that shit. So like I barely participated in it, you know, but I knew of the culture. I would go like maybe once every 2 or 3 years and kind of get a sense of it that way. But yeah, no, I was just like, I'm too broke. I'm in college. My parents ain't financing fucking shit. So like, and I would just like forego and just like not have breakfast for days. I'm just like, I can't fucking afford it. So maybe I'll get a bacon egg and say like, that's it, you know, no cheese because I don't like cheese. But that would be the, I know, I know, I know,
Like cheese.
I
Interesting.
know. I kept it on the down low at Kripalu because I just didn't want to have to fucking deal with the explanation. So I just wouldn't tell nobody.
Love that. Right. Mind you, at a table where everybody's like, oh, I can't eat this. I can't eat that. I'm so
Exactly.
everybody has
Right.
everybody had a thing.
But I'm like, "Oh, non mi gusta queso, non mi gusta non mi piace il formaggio, grazie." Yeah, no, not for me. Sorry, Italian ancestors. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I feel like for your culture that might be a way, but that's okay.
That's okay, right, we're not gonna go there. We're gonna save that for part 2. Well,
So let us move into our cheers section where we
see,
shout out dope people, brands, orgs, or whatever, just dope shit in general. And
yes,
there's a particular kind of human combination that exists in this world that I want to shout out, which are my Pisces suns, Aries moons, and Sagittarius
period.
things.
Yes,
Those three signs in that order in those particular placements. Because as a Pisces sun, Aries moon, Sag rising, I think that it's a dope combination and
period, 1,000%.
so many years to feel like affirmed and powerful in who I am. And really, through astrology and understanding some of the archetypes of these signs over the years, I have really been able to stand 10 toes down on the things that make me a wonderful human to coexist with. And so I just want to shout us out because I think that.
Please.
While Pisces can be very like flowy and whatever, my Aries moon does a very good job of grounding the bitch. I have 2 fires, so, like, it's not the water is not overbeared, right? But the water does get boiled and hot, and I can get very
Yeah,
sticky, but I'm also quite adventurous and open, but I also get bored very easily, so, like, I'm not
yes,
easy to impress, but I'm also open and down for whatever comes, and so my not easy to impress energy does not come off as, like, hard and, so I'm likable, I'm malleable, but I'm also very
yes,
organized and focused and with the shits. So
always.
I'd love to hear more about from an actual astrologer about us wonderful humans and how our combination works so well.
Yes, because you know what? If I had to shout anybody out, it would be Pisces right now, which historically, and I've told you a little bit about this, based on my astrology, I have not always been able to understand and or connect well to, especially Pisces men. Now much better. And so this is hard earned, let me tell you. And it's because Saturn wonderful Pisces girlfriends, always, always. Okay. Saturn, the planet of integrity and skill building and reaching things to completion via, I would say, what's the word? Resistance and resilience. Saturn's been in Pisces since March of 2023 for the first time in 30 years. So anybody born between like 94 and 96 experienced their first Saturn return. Anybody who has Pisces in the rising sun or moon experienced some scrutinizing transits by, I would argue, the biggest authoritarian in astrology, which is Saturn, in a well done way, right? And so Saturn will leave Pisces for 30 years on February 14th, 2026. So this is the moment when like Pisces is walking into the universe's auditorium with their cap and gown, right? And Saturn's at the podium like this, not smiling, but serving face, right? Nodding. And you sort of receive your wisdom. They say virtue is its own reward. And now there's many Pisces who have had to take serious responsibility for decisions they made and or things they didn't do that might have bit them in the fishtail a bit. And now they're reaching the end, realizing, okay, so when I approach rather than avoid things that make me uncomfortable or scared, I am rewarded. I'm not comfortable, but I am rewarded. And so I'm so proud of the work that Pisces has done to just take even more responsibility for their lives and learn the skills that help them manage and move through discomfort responsibly. Saturn loves to skill build again through resilience and resistance. So that's number one. Number two, I already told you, and I'll say it on the record, Aries moons are my favorite, with just the way it interacts with me. Okay, so it's highly personal, but also not. Every bitch should love an Aries moon. And it's because Aries represents everything I have to learn, which is the autonomy needed to own my desires and say no more often than not. So my yes means something. And my Aries women especially liberate me tremendously from, I would say, like post-traumatic closet disorder, because it's true. Because I mean, every gay queer person, they, them, girl, gay, the whole fucking thing. We relate to the fact, we relate to the fact that like we had to grow up so long lying just to survive. And so to be around an Aries is to be around a truth teller who wants to hear you say, I don't want to. So that they know, well, okay, so this is who the fuck I'm dealing with. So I have only ever lit incense at the altar of Aries moons because they help me feel fully alive. As I've expressed to you and through my other friends who are Aries moons, they just show the fuck up for me. Like they really demonstrate love as verb, love as concrete, credible action, to shout you out. I remember when one of the days in the last Kripalu residency we had, I was just fucking bone tired, fell asleep early. I was like drooling in the pillow. I had I think I still have my shoes still on. That's how tired I was. You probably walked past my room and my feet were out of the door and I didn't make it. All you saw like Nessa under the fucking house in the fucking Wizard of Oz. And so I woke up and I was like, oh shit, and then I saw you some shortly after breakfast and I found out that you and Melanie took care of everything I couldn't fucking complete. And like, no, it was nothing to you. I was like, bitch, it's everything to me, So I just, I love an Aries. I love an Aries woman, especially. So then in 2026, Aries is the answer for a lot of people because Saturn and Neptune, oh yeah, Saturn and Neptune will both enter Aries and park there. And 2026, Julissa, is going to initiate an incredible renewal cycle for the collective and for the individual if we follow the wisdom of the Aries. So stoked for that. And because this is being recorded during Sagittarius season, I will always shout out my Sagittarians, my opposite sun sign, and just realize too that there's often an instant levity and laughter that I have with Sag that I definitely have an Aries too, not the same with Sag. I have to earn it with Pisces a little bit. But I mean, the minute we met, we were just laughing at the sheer absurdity, the fact that like I was wearing a shirt that said him and you were wearing a shirt that said blessings.
Right.
And when we were walking around Kripalu, like kind of like pick your oracle card, honey, right? Dump him because of the blessings, right? And it was just and I think what I appreciated about you and I in that moment is like we were in on the joke.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like if there is an because in astrology there's 6 pairs of opposites, you're with your opposite sun sign, a Virgo. Gemini Sag is one opposition. And we love to laugh at ourselves and laugh at when certain disciplines like astrology and probably screenwriting too, and any sort of like, oh, I'm an artist. We love to laugh at that.
just laughing shit off. At the end of the day, like, it's been a fucking trial. I'm glad to understand this Saturn
Yes.
thing because I'm like, "Oh, okay, yeah, that makes a lot of fucking sense." And ironically, that date that you say Saturn leaves Pisces, I will be facilitating a retreat
Pollen.
which is in itself like a full circle, yeah, right? So, like, it's its own full circle
Wow.
on so many levels that, we don't have time for here, but, like, you and I will keep you on the side, but that
1,000% over brunch.
right, over brunch, over the pancakes, and I just I just think it's beautiful to have astrology as a tool that people can use to reference what is happening and understand the cycles that they're in, right?
I
And
know.
embrace them, right? Because like while Saturn has been kicking my fucking ass, let me tell you, for the
I bet.
since whatever the fuck it came into, but like it really has helped me grow in so many ways that like 2026 is going to be sick of me because my energy and the ways that I've already felt like, you know what? I don't like, let's say, for example, fitness and whatever. I've been weightlifting and doing all types of shit. I don't like having to give up certain
Excuse me.
habits,
Excuse me, bitch.
trying to get right and tight. You know what I mean? For a long time, had just a good time. And so
That's it.
in which I'm honoring myself really do speak to some of that discipline you're talking about. And I love to hear that Aries is going to be the vibe because I feel like it has taken me finding better balance with my Aries energy in order for me to show up. Because the Pisces baby, if you let her, she'll run around in circles in the clouds and avoiding it all. I will avoid it.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that has its wisdom too sometimes too. Yeah, maybe we'll have the time for that. But I think that really quickly, it's amazing to me too that with Pisces, it's a zodiac sign that initiates us to optimal confusion, to the not knowing, and to sort of like the avoidance of certainty and logic and reason, and just being with the great mysteries that cannot be explained, but just to be experienced. And I finally understand through because how can we ever really understand Pisces? Because they're just beyond cognition sometimes, you know? But to the best that my puny Gemini brain can, I completely revere that wisdom of Pisces, which is the like, no, I'm not even going to go near it. I get it now. So anyway, I just want to make sure you knew that too. Yeah,
No, yeah, I appreciate it. It's one of my favorite things about myself as
it
well.
better be.
I'm grateful that I have the balance though, because she will disappear from all of
Right.
the responsibilities if you let.
Chone, she's gone. I know. I remembered one moment when like we were at the residency. I think it was the spring one, and we're all vibing. It's like a dinner time moment, and I could just see you getting into that Pisces. Like, I have nothing left for social consumption right now. I just saw you like evaporate into a mist, and you were like, "I'm not going to dinner. Don't even ask me twice. Good night."
I would love to know if there's anything you would like to shout out.
Yes, yes. So just last night, I went to the fourth annual Stonewall Brick Awards,
Wow.
and it is a fundraising gala award ceremony for an organization called SIGB, and it stands for Stonewall Inn Gives Back Initiative, SIGBI. And I'm getting chills just thinking about it. Just to be in a room with literally a Stonewall veteran, and her name is Victoria Cruz Boricua, right? She came over and there was just this beautiful like Taino headdress, and she was just like blessing the room and empowering us to like remember that nobody is illegal on stolen land, and what does it take to fight back against fashion. I mean, it was extraordinary. I was so moved last night, and it just reminded me not only that trans women of color have been doing 98% of the emotional heavy lifting here. And I just want to shout them out. And then Miss Majors, who's like a movement mother, she received just a beautiful award, and she started lots of different housing opportunities in the South for trans kids of color. And I was just so proud of the community, and also realized just how much we could all do to support the most vulnerable among us. And then I was laughing too, because of course the lesbians took out their checkbooks the fastest. Those fucking bitches. Okay. I love it. So there was this moment when the host was like, "Do you have any lesbians here?" And I screamed like I am one, because I am. Okay. And my best friend is a lesbian. Like, forget it. Okay. Even though I was at a table of like only gay men. And I was like, woo! Right? I was cheering with the lesbians. So if I had to shout anybody out, It would be the lesbians and the trans women of color who are financing and fashioning, we could say, a movement that I am so proud to be a part of, that I just want to do everything I can to enrich and protect. Yeah, it was incredible. You would have loved it. Oh
Literally
my God.
there with like a little a tinge of envy of like, damn, that sounds like an incredible night in an incredible room. You already know, in my past life, it's somewhere. You and I were in Studio 54,
Oh, I almost want to put you on the spot and be like, can you share the joke that you told me? I don't know if you remember,
which
but I,
one? Oh, about about you being my
uh,
dear.
yeah.
So everyone, I'm pretty sure that in a past life, I was a gay man who died partying at Studio 54. I overdosed, and Colin was my drug dealer. I am fairly certain about that.
There is no doubt. Okay? Because it's giving, we came back to finish what we started.
Literally, like, in the realm of the party and being the vibe, it really does feel like we found each other again in the club. So, yeah,
Yes, yeah, oh, without a doubt. And there's just so many of those moments of you and I just laughing at those kinds of jokes and the party. And I think that's what I want to shout out too is like, not only is humor the language of the oppressed, Dione helped me remember that, our mutual friend, but there was so much humor in the crowd last night. I was just like, ah, laughter in hell. There's nothing like it. There is nothing. And I have that with you all the time. I remember when we did like the Jordan Sparks one step at a time. What? You, me, and Robert just being bimbos together. And I was like, this is the best feeling. And it was just so queer. It was so camp. It was so fun. So thank you for being so down with that always. That's why I would shout out. Yeah.
absolutely. Thank you. So now let's switch gears to talk
Sí.
about motherfuckers who are doing the most, tuta loca. And
Uf, sí.
I want to
Total.
know, there have been a lot of signs that have been doing the most in this year, but setting us up for next year, what are the signs that are going to be doing the most just so I can prepare and ground myself in grace and not nobody?
So I want to say it in Espanol y Italiano. So Cancro y Leone, so Cancer and Leo,
Mhm.
right? So Jupiter's in Cancer until June 30th. So it's actually really beautiful for them. So if you have any Cancer influence friends, Sun, Moon, Rising, they are intentionally supposed to be doing the most, right? Because the first half of the year is all about risk taking, exploration, letting optimism, not necessarily like risk aversion and safety, lead the way for a sign that doesn't necessarily use optimism and risk taking as its primary strategies or field of knowledge acquisition. That's not Cancer. It's Cancer is absolutely probably the strongest zodiac sign, the most necessary because it's all about love of home, family belonging, ancestry, culture, that fierce maternal figure, free from gender, sexuality, the whole thing. But it's Jupiter in that sign until the first half of the year was really pushing them to get out of the house, take off the crab shell, make huge fucking risks, see what happens. So if anybody's loved by or loving towards a Cancer or is a Cancer, they're going to be tuta loca. And you just have to say, bravissimo, bravissimo. You can make the face like, oh my God, tranquilo, calma, right? I had to yell at Cancer this weekend. I love him, but I had to be like, you better calm down. Okay. And then Jupiter enters Leo. And speaking of the sign that is tuta loca totale in cada año, in each year,
Mhm.
okay?
Yes, come on, you stay
That's,
on fucking point, bitch.
oh, bitch, estoy tratando porque estoy hablando contigo, okay? And porque yo soy Nueva York again, so I'm just back in the flow. But anywho, so then when Jupiter's in Leo, it's them. And honestly, I really want to shout out Leos right now because they have been similarly to Pisces going through an extremely long transformation of behind the scenes, sort of qualitative intrinsic work. And then on June 30th of this year, when Jupiter enters Leo for an entire year, so July 2027, then they're out. And then I can't wait to see. I'm so looking forward to Jupiter back in Leo because I feel like we could both attest to that. Sometimes, like, our industries are very much like higher mind, barely touching the somatic, which is a different conversation, but hardly ever beating with like a courageous heart. Leo is courage.
Mhm.
Leo is the sign that's like, oh, I don't care if I'm doing this imperfectly. I don't want it to be pristine. I just want to show up and turn these bitches inside out. Okay. So I can't wait to see what Leo's achieve. Yeah, it's Cancer and Leo. And like they connect to your chart beautifully, right? Because of your Pisces sun. So you can get down with the Cancers because like they're so attuned to you
Mm, mhm.
without you even having to explain. And then enter the Leo, the third fire sign that you don't, I don't think you have any Leo in your chart. It's just Aries and Sag. So when Leo enters, you're like, right? So I have a Leo rising, and I think that's why we're like, did we meet at Studio 54? And I'm like, yeah. And I know exactly what we were wearing, and I know exactly what line killed you because I just
Yeah,
wanted to see. I said, well, she ain't going down without me.
right.
And then I probably did it too. We were both there. Anyway,
I love it. All right. Well, let us move into our plate of the day. We are living in a time where astrology has become more accessible, more popular.
yes,
Wonderful,
beautiful.
right? Love to see it. And in that, there has been different waves of culture around astrology that have begun to develop that can be problematic sometimes, but also can, I think,
Mhm.
rob astrology of its pure magic, of like what it is actually
Yes.
to do versus how people are trying to create an economy around it.
Mm,
Sometimes we have the
mm,
people who like to doom and gloom everybody and scare everyone,
mm.
make them feel like they need the astrology and, like, keep them hooked, almost like a drug, which I don't
Oof.
appreciate, and then there are people who, like, sort of go overboard and overanalyze not only their lives, but the lives of people around them to the degree that they're not actually being present, and they're, like,
Correct.
waiting for the forecast to move or
Yes.
anything, and so they're not really in their human experience, and yes, it's meant to be a guide, but a guide, not a boss, right? I've always wondered, like, for you in this astrology world, have you ever felt the need to like fall into the fold of a particular vibe that you then broke out of to then say, "Oh no, I'm not doing my astrology like this. This is my true expression." Or have you always just sort of been out here in these astrology streets like carving out your own space and like clocking all the bitches who are out here doing it backwards? And how did you find the power to sort of stand up and say to a room full of astrologers and OGs like, "Hey, we're doing it wrong."
Get your whole ass together. No. Wow. Beautiful question. And I just want to acknowledge, yeah, you interpreted the current culture of astrology and metaphysics on the internet exceptionally well. I think that fear is used as a marketing device to, yeah, just kind of lure and leverage because it's hey, it works occasionally. It has a short shelf life, but it does work in times of global collective anxiety. So I will say, look, you know what? I could spend 9 hours giving you a laundry list of my bullshit and where I have plenty of shortcomings. And I'm proud to say your boy fucking never, ever felt the need to act like what I was seeing on the internet. Fucking ever,
Yeah. Yeah.
ever. And you can look at my Instagram to confirm it because I was not going, these are the 4 signs that are going to have the highest upgrade for the full moon. And shut the fuck up. You learned astrology 4 years ago. And God bless. But calm your ass down. Okay? Shit. No, I never did that kind of shit. Never. Because I'm a Leo rising and I stay true to my motherfucking style. Okay. And one thing I'm not gonna do is sound like everybody else. Now, there are plenty of astrologers that I love and respect and admire and call friends and support system. So it's not like astrologers. I don't want to look like a self-righteous, arrogant, punishing dickhead. Right. So I have the people who do challenge me and say, like, well, you critique something you really actually didn't have a basis of understanding with. And I'm like, that's true. I did do that. So I have my cabinet of people who say, fall the fuck back and stand down, young man. Right. So I appreciate that. And I have plenty of astrologers who have sort of noticed this idea. So I forgot who said it, but it's a really powerful line that leadership is both poetry and plumbing.
Ooh.
Yeah. So it's this, I think what's happened with astrology is we have overemphasized the plumbing, the technique, the system, the method, the utility. And we've really lost sight of the poetry and the imagination and the intuition. So that's sort of what I'm present to is the fact that in an effort to sort of get very technical and focus on the plumbing, which is necessary but insufficient, what I've been so concerned about is it looks as if we're using astrology to control the uncontrollable. And to quote Hartmut Russo, a German sociologist whose ideas have transformed my life, when we try to do that and control the uncontrollable, Julissa, we unleash Frankensteins of uncontrollability. And what I will say, without wanting to publicly shame or get into too much bonchinche, but I have seen plenty of astrologers act out of control in public, and their approaches are primarily how to control the unknown. So
Mm-hmm.
riddle me that.
Mm.
Riddle me fucking that. You know, and I would love to see astrology move from marketing and risk assessment and this sort of utilitarian technique to, yo, let's turn our work into a ministry. We're public servants, like Walter is because there's no was.
I love what you're saying because I think that there is a way in which people also do not practice discernment with the astrologers themselves. Yes, they are
Mm,
referenced actual planets and things that are happening. So they're not making it up, but there is the ways in which people put their own stank on things. And sometimes, just like any sort of spiritual practice or practicing,
mm,
like, yes, you might know the plumbing, but the poetry behind it is also so important, which is your embodiment,
yes,
right?
yes.
So that, like your embodiment, I think is really wonderful. And, I'm curious if like in your journey, because you sort of talked a little bit earlier about how you got into astrology. You had
Mhm.
some time at Cosmo for a while,
Yep. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Horoscopes and things like that. I'm curious if throughout your career, and now you're really like a solo entrepreneur, right? And so
Hmm.
the transition into that, were there things that you were happy to shed? Are there ways that, magazines, not Cosmo specifically, but just in general, like magazines and places that try to make a bridge to astrology, water down the ways in which we can get into it to fit those formats? And how have you been able to really emerge further into your voice and style now that you're just doing it for you?
Pisces podcasters, I swear to God, in a league of their own, honey, in a league of their own. Yeah, I think that there's a lot in your question. I think it's all good. I have noticed that it's almost as if one can't be maintaining expertise and accessible at the same time.
Mm.
And even I would say in astrology, like technically what I do is called pop astrology, popular astrology, trash astrology, right? I wrote the horoscopes for Cosmo. There are astrologers on social media who diminish and demean that approach all the time because they think it's not real. It's fast food, it's this, it's that. And I believe what Bell Hooks taught in, I believe it was Teaching to Transgress, that popular culture is the culture. And if I have this extraordinary opportunity to have millions of people read a horoscope, I'll treat it like a Trojan horse if I have to. I'll say the full moon is in Pisces, whatever. And so, who have you not forgiven? Forgive yourself, forgive others. Like, I don't feel the need to grandstand and posture this authority because number one, my resume speaks for itself. I don't ever need to walk around
Period.
swinging no micro penis
Period.
because check my resume. Number two,
Okay.
I hate you. This is you. I'm blaming you because it's like it's Aries sad shit. It's like it's just all out. The tits are out. The chest hair is bushed and out. I did not brush it. So also because as we just discussed, like I grew up lower class. I grew up in a working class blue collar family. My parents are not college graduates. My twin sister and I were the first ones to do it. I think it's also like an accessibility and a classist issue to kind of just be like, oh, why would you not do that? So it's a spiritual issue. I think my answer is I don't want to write for astrologers. I want to be with the people. I want to be a public servant. I want to be out in the streets of New York City explaining to people who are working 2.5 jobs to barely pay their fucking rent how they can leverage astrology to be helpful. And I'm going to do it in accessible terminology so that they can make utility of it right away. That is more important to me than impressing fucking any of these bitches.
Period.
I don't give a fuck. I don't. And I don't have to because once again, check my resume, hun. I don't need to walk around and sound like everybody else who's posturing as this grandstanding expert. I don't give a flying fuck. I really don't. Is
Yeah,
that answering your question?
absolutely.
I don't
Because
know, because we're just riffing,
no,
Gemini, Pisces, you know?
because that is your style, and I think that that is what I meant. And I said earlier, you don't give a fuck about
None.
until you absolutely have to, because the proof is in the pudding that care is required, but otherwise, life is too short. Like, life is too
Exactly.
short, and so this idea of holding it to the chest or even obsessing over, the aesthetics, not that you don't, because you have a wonderful aesthetic and the work that you
Thank you,
put
baby.
that is an expression of you, because you,
Mm,
Parsons, right? Like, very, very put together, very fashionable and tuned. That's just part of your natural expression. That is not something that you are trying to take on in order to put together this caricature of an
right.
astrologer, right? And I think that
Mm.
in a time where, and no shade, right? But in a time where everybody's like, oh, my Chani app and this and blah blah blah, and I'm like, no, I don't know Chani. I don't got no beef with Chani, right? But like, the energy around the way I see people like run to the work or rely on the work, it almost even makes people lazy about what they're doing in a way that I feel like you
Huh.
challenge people to sit with questions, right? I feel like people are like so reliant on, oh, well, let me check what Chani says. Whereas with you, I feel like you pose a lot of questions where you're asking
Mm.
to really be in that exploration, right? To really be in the spirituality of what they're doing without doing it in such a way where it's like embodied. I'm in all white, and this is how I live. And hey, I'm about that life too, so I'm not even shitting
Right.
that, but, like, it is different, and that's the kind of stuff that you and I could always giggle at. It's like there's moments where, like, yes, that is very renowned and respected, and then there's moments where we just gotta be like, "Bitch, you know you was fucking up, don't even play,
Right.
blah, blah, blah. If you don't wanna fuck around and find out, and to this date, don't be stupid." Sometimes you gotta, because that's how we talk to each other, right? Like, when I'm with
Period.
my girlfriend,
See.
sometimes I'm like, "Bitch, you know better. Stop being a dumb hoe."
Right. And I'm
Like,
like, you're right. I am a dumb hoe.
and it's being able to use the vocabulary, to your point, the accessibility of where people are at, because
Yes.
deserve to have astrology represented in a way that is true to them. Because what is astrology if it is not authentic to you? All of these, when people start saying, oh, this isn't trying to this, I'm always like, all right, you're talking, you're talking, you're talking. Oh, now you're talking English. And I have to, like, I'll listen to all
Yes.
of that shit means. Even when people
Exactly.
have tried to explain it to me, I can't retain what
No
the
problem.
tryings are, you know?
Me neither. I just pretend. Yeah.
So yeah, so to say that, like, yeah, I think that your style, you are one of the few people who I enjoy talking about astrology with. And s-
Yeah.
people in my life,
Oh,
astrology, love reading charts and whatever. And I don't even have the attention span to like sit through their conversation. But you are so clear in what you're saying that it's just, and I learn, you know what I mean? Like, I actually
yeah.
can retain what you're saying and apply it to my life in a way that's really beautiful, which to me is what's part of what's wrong. So if I were to ask you like, well, what's wrong with
Mm.
astrology? I think you kind of already answered it, which is like
Yes.
accessibility and trying to meet the standards of
Mm.
what is a polished, renowned astrologer as opposed to a truth teller who's here to be a resource for people.
Amen. My God, I'm trying. And I think, Julissa, that I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that our souls choosing to take our first breaths in New York is almost exclusively what's shaping this conversation. Because there is that just sort of like, no nonsense. I got to catch the last off peak train back to Ronkonkoma. So I'm going to need you to hurry the fuck up and leave the jargon all the way out of this, and just get to the point, explain the meat and potatoes of what it is. And yeah, I think being a New York astrologer is somebody who wants to take extremely complicated and life-changing information and translate it in such a way to meet the moment, meet the people, and do so succinctly and powerfully. Right. And I just, because I learned astrology in New York City primarily on the dance floors with the friends, just opening itself up to the exploration rather than the apps, the questions, which no shade to anybody, like serves a purpose, right? We need the specialists. And I'll just say this quickly, from we could say 2018 to April 2026 was an era of the specialist. Uranus was in Taurus, right? So is until April 2026. There has been and is needed the plumbers, right? Which we need. No shame, no judgment. Absolutely. Get into the technique. the form, the methodology. I'm about it. But just know, in and of itself, insufficient. Just like poetry, isn't it? Because I've gone to astrology lectures where it was too much poetry. And I've joked with other women and gays, and we say, "What in the yoni baloney is going on here?" That's the phrase we use. Like, what the fuck was that? I wish I had more plumbing, you know? So it's both end, but I would say we went too far here because we're human beings. Now we're trying to find the synthesis. And yeah, I can't wait to see what me and some New York astrologers who you know as well are going to be up to on January 1st, on the day that Mom Donnie gets inaugurated.
Yes, yes. Any thoughts or like astrology around that situation?
That he's a hot Libra, and that's all I care about.
Period.
I don't care about his Aquarius moon, his Leo rising, and that like he's a man of the people and he's been about it since the very beginning. Duh. How come nobody is talking about that fucking smile and those cheekbones and the beard?
Hmm?
Libra, Libra, cut it out, pretty boy, pretty boy. Be like, so what's your wife's sign? Because like
Break it
I
down.
feel exactly. I feel like you need a Gemini. I see a Gemini in your future. Okay, Zoran, Siddiqui, Habibi. Okay, get over here, you fucking hot piece of ass. That's exactly what I would say to my mayor. Okay.
You know, and New York deserves a hot mayor at this point. We've had some really crusty motherfuckers for quite some time.
Exactly. And I'm gonna need it to be in the face of our mayor. And you know what, too? Maybe this is the trickster archetype as well. But like one of my favorite things is being a bimbo in astrology, like a hoe bimbo slut. And again, like that's all I have to say about Zoran is he's fucking hot.
And that's all that we need, you know?
Period. Exactly. I don't need nothing but optics. I really don't.
It's all a fucking matrix anyway. So why not
Hello.
have something good to look at while we're fucking
He is so fucking hot. I love a Libra. I stan a Libra pretty boy.
So I'd love to wrap with these two things.
Sure.
One, what has your journey taught you about your artistry and power? Because you are an artist, we
Mm.
know this,
Takes one to know one.
right? Period. And I would love any
Mm.
advice that you have to people who are either overly obsessed and attached to astrology and aren't thinking for themselves, or people who
Mm.
are completely like, this is bullshit. What
Mm.
advice do you have for those folks? But first, your journey, what you've learned about your artistry and your power through your journey.
Yes. You know what? Actually, it's all the same answer.
I
Now
love it.
that I think about it, let me know. Like, scan it through the Sagittarius Pisces lens. But that my journey in artistry would not have been made possible if it weren't for my friends,
Mm.
if it weren't for my family. Julissa, I think one of the reasons why you and I had connected so thoroughly, so quickly is because, like, families, they're complex, but we roll real hard for our families. And you know why I'm not here trying to impress nobody? Because my mommy and daddy, they got me. They're happy with who I am. They'll challenge me quick, the both of them, but I got their support. So, like, I don't care about no telephone tough guy keyboard critic wannabe gangster motherfucker. I don't give a shit because I got my parents. Okay?
Period.
All right. So, and my grandma and my cousins and my twin sisters, the whole thing.
You got to list everybody, right?
Right, of course. Right. It's not just mi genitori, okay? Or mis padres. It's the whole family. Tanto familia. Okay, so so it's just, I would not be who I am. I'm not self-made. I'm relationally made. We all are. I'm coming at you from an apartment that I'm renting from an astrologer who I love. I took over a lease. Like, it's like, come on, it's the people who have made me. And in terms of like those that are too attached or not attached to astrology, I would say, yes, stop reading a chart and go read people's hearts.
That's a fucking trademark, that bitch. Reading the chart, start reading the heart.
It's
Period.
true. Because, like, if you're going to hit me with the moon is in detriment in Scorpio in the fourth house, square the nodes of the moon, shut the fuck up and go read somebody's heart. And then if you can prove that, you have proof of concept. I don't give a flying fuck about your technique and expertise here. I care about this. And then for the people that are not interested, I'm like, good, God bless. Whatever fucking works for you. I'm not trying to persuade anybody of anything, like just whatever works for you. I hope you find it. And, it's this idea of like, if your life is the only Bible anybody reads, make it worthwhile. Let your life be the proof of concept. And one thing about me is, again, I am an imperfect, deeply flawed son of a bitch, but I know goddamn well my life and my relationships give proof of concept that I'm leveraging astrology to bolster the quality of my relational intelligence and my relational skills. And the quality of our life is determined by the quality of our relationships. Nothing else.
Yes, I love that, especially the part of like, yeah, if you're not into this shit, fuck it. Because part of what has
Go
really
ahead.
made astrology toxic, I think, for people and have turned them off is not even the fucking astrology, is that they can't get past the ego of the person who is trying to
Mm.
astrologize them because the intention behind the astrologizing is very clearly wanting to be right or hold some power or not
Bingo.
out getting to know the person or knowing their heart first. I mean, I think about it, as a straight woman dealing
Air
with
quotes,
this
air quotes. Come on, girl.
fucking queer. Everybody's fucking
Right.
so like
100%.
this idea of like when I first would when I was in the dating scene because I'm not in the dating scene anymore, but even with my Virgo, like when I like to be like, oh, you being a Virgo, there was a moment in time where he had to be like, that feels very reductive. Like I'm a Virgo. What does that actually mean? Like, what are the layers? And now that we've had a few years together now, like, and understand each other at that heart level, when I say the shortcut of the Virgo, he understands what route I'm pulling from. And it's not the charts, it's his heart. It's what we've experienced. It's the repetition of his character where I'm like, yes, you are a perfectionist and that is okay. And I love you. And it is also a Virgo trait, my Virgo.
Baby boy. I'll say it again.
And I do think that there is something I would say for those who don't like really fuck with astrology. Like some people don't even fuck with, let's say Myers Briggs or other
Hello.
personality assessments. It's not just astrology, but I will say
Right.
that all of these things, all of these assessments, gene keys, all these things
Yes.
have little nuggets of truth that we can use as affirmation. It doesn't have to be your life. You don't have to study it. It can just be something that says, wow, well, if I were to choose to subscribe to this practice or these, systems, I can see myself in it in a way that is true to me. And so for me,
Yes.
I just encourage people to like, whenever you feel pulled or are hearing somebody talk about astrology in a way that does light up your heart, don't be, too shy. Like dip your toe in
Yes.
a little bit, ask
Yes.
questions. Because
Yes.
it really does help you navigate where you're at and empower you to continue to go where you're headed. I'm
Of
so grateful
course.
for the wisdom that you've shared with the people. For those who aren't
Thank you.
already following you, where can we follow you? How can we support your work? Anything you have coming up
Sure.
that we should know about?
Yes. So, well, thank you. That means so much to me. And thank you for providing the container and being so thoughtful and just bringing you're just an incredibly powerful permission slip. And I think that's what allows me to just be absolutely outrageous with you. Cause I know, exactly. I know, right. We're like, go harder, go louder. Okay. It's actually not ratchet enough. How do you think about
Period.
what are you feeling? You can find me at Queer Cosmos on Instagram, colinbedell.com. And by the time this launches, I will have a 2026 program. So I cover the transits of the entire year because this year is revolutionary. I'm not just saying that. And I want to give people a program to work with as opposed to, again, these sort of like techniques and the telling. I'm going to provide you with the head, the heart, the hands, and the holy of astrology so that you can develop your own understanding because my goal is to be needless at the end. I want you to be your own sort of astrology wisdom keeper. And so I'm very excited about it. I worked really hard on it and I hope that it supports people here. So you could probably buy it on my website by the time this comes out. And if they want to hear me talk any longer than they already have, I can't imagine, then I could give them just quick templates and breakdowns for each month of an incredibly powerful new year.
Yes, absolutely. I co-sign your work a thousand times over.
Thank
Colin,
you.
if this episode has not already revealed to you that Colin is not new to this, Colin is true to this. Colin was born to astrologize, the Gemini twin. And so if ever there was an astrology space that I push you towards,
Uh,
like, okay, queer cosmos.
Thank you. But
All day, every day. And you can find us at Ladies Who Bronché across all streaming platforms. And thank you so much for tuning in, y'all. And until next time, bronche.
hasta luego.